Hi, I'm Michelle, and I've recently appeared on Lorraine Kelly to talk about breastfeeding. Now, you may think that that's not anything unusual. The reason I was asked on was because I had a feature for Closer a couple of weeks ago where I discussed breastfeeding my 4-year-old son, and that if he chose to continue, I would then choose to continue to breastfeed till he was 8. As a result of this, the Lorraine Kelly Show were really interested, and so they invited me to go along there. And what happened was really nothing short of a miracle, really. Now, I've been involved in breastfeeding support for a long time, probably about 13 or 14 years on a professional basis. I set up a social enterprise that supported breastfeeding women in the UK, and over the years I've probably supported around 30,000 women in their choices to feed. So I have a lot of experience. I've spoken nationally and internationally at conferences, and I run conferences. I've also influenced government policy around breastfeeding, and I breastfed all my children. So I was invited to go on the Lorraine Kelly Show, and I knew that Dr Hilary was going to be there, and I was also aware that the last time he'd appeared on a television show and talking about breastfeeding over the age of 1, his attitude had been not supportive, shall we say. His view at the time was that women who chose to breastfeed their children for longer than 1 potentially have themselves psychological issues or cause psychological issues in their children. There was no nutritional benefit. So I'd done some research around this and felt that in order to change people's opinions, I have a view that we need to get people talking. People will think whatever they think, whether they say it or not. So I would much rather they say it and then we start a conversation. So it was sort of with this approach that I went down to London, stopped in a lovely hotel on the Thames, and it was my birthday, which was really nice, so it was a really nice treat. I went to the television studios, and it was lovely. So we drove up to the entrance of the television studios and got out of a black car. The paparazzi jumped out with their cameras. I think they were a little disappointed to realise I wasn't, I don't know, perhaps they were expecting Catherine Zeta-Jones or something like that. Anyway, they got me and a 4-year-old and my partner, so they quickly disappeared back into their hiding place. So before the show started, you do your makeup and your hair, and they wanted Charlie to be breastfeeding, which was fine. It took a long time because Charlie feeds when he wants to. It's not something I force him to do, it's something that Charlie chooses to do. So then I had the opportunity to talk to Dr Hilary before the show, and he was lovely, absolutely delightful. He asked what we were discussing on the show, sort of to remind him, so I was able to share with him my views on breastfeeding and my views on what I think women need. When you're a mother, there is more to being a mother than being the best. Very few women want to be the best at being a mother. They just want to do what they seem to be as either the norm or what their decision is that suits their family. So with this in mind, it's no wonder that women get so confused with all the various opinions and various helpful talks you have and information you get from health professionals. And this was a point I was making to Dr Hilary. As a new mum, you can see 5 or 6 new health professionals in the space of a couple of weeks. And each one can tell you a different story around breastfeeding, a different way to do it, what you should be doing, should you be giving them bottles, should you be giving them a dummy. Each one will have a different opinion. So my view is, what women need are simply 3 things. First of all, they need the government to protect breastfeeding, and this may be through policies and procedures. We return to work, we need a much more robust system than we have now. Even with the new guidelines, that's all they are, is guidelines. There is nothing to say that employers should provide certain things for breastfeeding women at work. We really need our government to be on board much more than they are. We also need our government to be supporting the WHO code absolutely 100%, not the half-hearted watered down version that we have in the UK, and they need to stop hiding behind European skirts and saying, no, it's their fault, European law won't allow us. So we need our government to protect breastfeeding. We also secondly need, and this really is the most important part, we need our health professionals all to be saying the same thing. Evidence-based information given to mothers, everybody saying the same thing. So that no matter who you go to, your GP, the health visitor, your midwife, the peer supporter, the auxiliary, they all say the same thing about breastfeeding and feeding babies. And the last thing that women need is support from society. Acceptance and support from society. The Western world is in a minority in its view of premature weaning. The rest of the world, whether you want to call them developed countries or whatever, the rest of the world and humankind feed their children, or their children choose to breastfeed, much longer than 12 months of age. And research shows it can be anything between 2.5 years and 7 years. That is the norm. It is a Western world that is different from the rest. So when we went on to the Lorraine Kelly Show, Lorraine shared her experiences that she breastfed. She was so supportive. And Dr Hilary, well, the miracle had happened. He actually supported breastfeeding, and not only did he support breastfeeding, he came up with evidence-based information. That's evidence to show that breastfeeding past 12 months has major benefits for the child and major benefits for the mother, and that actually it's society that has a problem with it. So it was really refreshing, and it was an absolute delight to meet him, to be honest, and I was so happy to be able to be there and normalise breastfeeding. My intention was for mothers and children who choose to breastfeed for longer than 12 months that it's something that we just do. We're not odd, we're not strange, we're just normal women going about doing what we do, and our children are normal children, and they grow up into normal adults doing normal things and becoming normal mothers and fathers. And secondly, I know there are so many women out there who either are breastfeeding their child over 12 months or want to, and they're scared of the reaction from the public. So I wanted to show that you're not alone. There are plenty of us who do it and do it often, and it's just something we do. So, I think what I learned from last week is perhaps not always to judge a book by its cover. And secondly, we take a gentle, engaging approach with people and have a conversation. It affects a far better change than perhaps trying to batter them over the head. No matter how right we may be, or how right we may think we are, how much evidence we may have, what we need to do is start a conversation with people.